Remember when the Ever Given blocked the Suez Canal for 6 days in 2021? It cost the world $9.6 billion per day. Ships backed up for miles. Supply chains collapsed. The entire planet waited for one stuck vessel to move. Russia watched this chaos and saw opportunity. They want to dig a canal through the middle of nowhere, connecting two seas that have never touched. It would make the Suez Canal completely irrelevant. But here's the question. Is this engineering brilliance or the most expensive mistake in history? The bottleneck problem. The Suez Canal controls 12% of global trade. Every year, 19,000 ships squeeze through this screen-narrow waterway. One blockage paralyzes the world economy. The Ever Given incident wasn't a fluke, it was a wake-up call. Russia has been watching this bottleneck for decades. The Caspian Sea holds massive oil reserves, natural gas and grain. Kazakhstan sits on some of the world's largest wheat exports. But there's one problem. The Caspian Sea is landlocked. It's 28 meters below sea level with no natural outlet to the ocean. Right now, the only route out is the Volga-Don Canal, built in 1952 under Soviet rule. This thing is ancient. It's 3.5 meters deep and handles ships of maybe 5,000 tons. Modern cargo vessels? They don't fit. Traffic crawls. Operations shut down in winter. It's seasonal, heavily regulated, and costs exporters billions every year. Kazakhstan feels this pain every day. They're one of the world's top grain producers, but they can't export at scale without begging for transit rights through other countries. Which is pretty wild if you think about it. Landlocked nations sitting on fortunes they can barely access. When Kazakhstan gained independence in 1991, President Nazarbayev realized something. His country had vast energy wealth and strategic geography, but no coastline. By 2007, Kazakhstan formally proposed the idea to Russia. The timing was perfect. China had just launched the Belt and Road Initiative, reshaping trade across Eurasia. A new canal connecting the Caspian to the Black Sea fit perfectly into this rising network. This aligned three major players. Russia could modernize an aging Soviet route. Kazakhstan could gain maritime independence. China could secure another westward corridor for trade. Few infrastructure ideas promise so much to so many. That's why, despite political changes and financial setbacks, this concept has never disappeared. The engineering challenge. The proposed Eurasia Canal would stretch 700 kilometers across southern Russia, following the Kuma-Manik Depression. This natural valley provides one of the only viable routes, avoiding mountains that would make construction impossible. The specs are massive. The canal would be 6.5 to 7 meters deep, allowing ships weighing 8,000 to 10,000 tons to pass through. That's nearly double the capacity of the current Volga-Don Canal. Cargo volume could reach 75 to 100 million tons per year, placing this among the world's busiest shipping routes. But here's the real challenge. The Caspian Sea sits 28 meters below sea level. The Black Sea doesn't. Water won't naturally flow along this route. Engineers would need sophisticated locks and pumping stations, similar to the Panama Canal, but adapted for larger vessels. Soil conditions present another nightmare. Much of the terrain is dry and prone to erosion. To prevent banks from collapsing, the project requires extensive reinforcement and water management systems. Modern navigation would guide ships through two-way lanes with real-time tracking. At peak construction, tens of thousands of workers would be employed across multiple fronts. The timeline? 10 to 15 years of continuous work. Millions of cubic meters of earth would be excavated. Concrete structures would rise across hundreds of kilometers. Entire towns, railways, and road networks would be built or expanded. The scale rivals the Suez or Panama Canal projects. But unlike those historical achievements, this canal faces a modern problem: financing. A $17 billion project comes with enormous political risk. Russia is interested but strained under sanctions. Kazakhstan supports the canal but can't fund it alone. China remains the most likely investor. Through state banks and Belt and Road partnerships, China has the capacity to finance megaprojects on this scale. But geopolitical tensions and the long payback period make investors cautious. No one wants to commit until the benefits are undeniable. The engineering is complex but achievable. The real question isn't whether they can build it, it's whether they can afford it. And whether the world needs another trade route when oil increasingly moves by pipeline and markets are shifting toward different priorities. For now, detailed engineering studies continue, negotiations drag on. If funding and political agreements align, construction could begin this decade. Completion would likely be in the late 2030s or early 2040s. The window is closing, but the ambition remains massive. The geopolitical reality. Geopolitics complicates everything. Iran and Azerbaijan worry that a new canal would give Russia even more influence over Caspian trade. They're not wrong. Russia already controls much of the region's energy infrastructure. A canal would cement that dominance for decades. But here's the twist. Turkey still controls the Bosphorus and Dardanelles, the narrow straits every ship must pass through to reach the Mediterranean. Even if the canal opens the Caspian to the Black Sea, Turkey remains the doorkeeper to the wider world. They could shut down traffic tomorrow if they wanted. China sees this differently. For them, the canal fits perfectly into the Belt and Road initiative. It's another westward corridor for trade, reducing dependence on southern sea routes. Chinese state banks have the capacity to fund projects like this. They've done it before across Central Asia and Africa. The competition is fierce. Iraq unveiled their own $17 billion development road project, highways and railways connecting the Persian Gulf to Europe through Baghdad and Turkey. Israel proposed the Ben Gurion Canal, a $55 billion alternative to Suez, cutting through the Negev desert. Turkey wants their Istanbul Canal, linking the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. Everyone's racing to build the next great trade route. But here's what they're all missing. The world is changing. Oil increasingly moves by pipeline, not ships. Container traffic is shifting toward different priorities. The Arctic routes are opening as ice melts, potentially offering shorter paths between Europe and Asia. Environmental concerns may prove decisive. Diverting rivers and altering natural waterways disrupts delicate ecosystems. Fish migration routes could be blocked. Wetlands could dry up. Salt levels could change, damaging farmland and accelerating desertification. The canal would require artificial reservoirs, controlled flow gates, and fish passages designed to protect wildlife. But history shows that once water systems are altered at this scale, consequences are difficult to predict and nearly impossible to reverse. The environmental debate remains one of the most serious obstacles. Critics argue the canal is a politically driven dream rather than an economic necessity. Supporters say it's a long-term investment that could shape the region for centuries. The truth probably lies somewhere between ambition and reality. Current status: still in planning phase. Cost estimates range from $4.5 to $17 billion, depending on design parameters. Russia remains interested but financially constrained. Kazakhstan supports the project but needs external funding. China holds the key but hasn't committed. The reality check. The Eurasia Canal remains on drawing boards despite decades of discussion. If built, it could stand alongside Suez and Panama as one of history's great waterways. It could reshape trade networks and redefine regional power. But for now, it's a bold idea suspended between ambition and reality. A future that waits for its moment. The stakes for reshaping global trade routes have never been higher. Will Russia actually build this canal, or will it remain a $17 billion dream? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see more mega projects that could reshape our world, hit that subscribe button